Good evening, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talk's College Football Huddle. We're back for our second week back from our hiatus. Hope everybody's had a great summer. We'll expect our in-studio crowd to grow as the weeks go on, and we've got real football next week. We want to welcome everybody watching on the McGrath Podcast Network, everybody watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all the groups that allow us to share. A lot of great college football groups that allow us to share this show. But some of our favorite groups are scrolling at the bottom. John Gonzalez from the Sports Authority, Greg Rawlings from America's Pastime, Flo and Can from Bottom Line Sports podcast. Let's Talk Sports, Ken Krause over at Golf Bud Sports of All Sorts. Taylor Phillips at the Michigan Sports Truth podcast. Great stuff. Taylor's also doing a lot of play-by-play in the Michigan, his area, his local area. And a quick shout out to Ralph Williams at RW Media. Ralph does some great stuff out of Ocean City, Maryland, Pittsburgh. Focused national footprint. I've been a guest there specifically on the Sports Corner with Ralph and Smoking Jim Frazier on Tuesdays from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Check that out as well. And all the other groups that allow us to share. Thank you as well so much. We feel the love after our first week back last week. A great reception. We do expect, as we said, our in-studio, I still got music going here, don't I? Our in-studio audience to continue to grow as we get closer to the season. We're only 10 days away. Good evening, Rick Sherlock. Good to have you with us. Rick correctly pointed out this morning that I've been a little rough lately, taking a few shots at his Georgia Bulldogs. I'll try to refrain from that a little bit, but I'm going to call them like I see them. And my team deserves some of those, a little kick in the side a little bit as well. So let me try to find my my banner here for while we're doing this. Lots of great stuff going on today, by the way. Not Mark Mancini. That's how College Sports Huddle. How about that? We'll take a look. The AP poll, again, preseason polls are preseason polls. We have to talk about them. And we'll look at some of the differences between the AP poll that's out here the last couple of days and the coaches poll that we had last week. We'll look maybe at we've talked about the top teams. We'll talk more about the top teams tonight. And we'll look at some of the conferences a little bit closer, maybe the group of six. And we'll look at the bottom teams, the worst teams in college football. We can talk about Jaden Daniels. Is he going to win this fight? You know, when this story broke last week, I kind of wasn't sure what side to come down on, and I kind of was siding a little bit with Jordan Daniels being disrespected. But the more I've thunk on it, I don't think anybody's a winner here, and I think Jordan Daniels might be at the bottom of the winners list here. I thought LSU and Lane Kiffin were originally. I mean, you don't have any specific right to have your number retired, right? I mean, you didn't win a national championship. Yeah, you won a Heisman. You had one great year there. Well, I guess 2 great years, but still. Anyway, we can talk about that if you want. We can talk about what else. We'll look at the coaching tiers a little bit. The great coaches going as we've starting a new season. I kind of like the look, and I use the Athletic often as my guideline here. The coaching tiers and who might have jumped, who might have fallen back, who might be in trouble. Bryce Underwood's issues in Michigan, is he even going to be the starter? I don't know that they've got a lot of choices there at Michigan right now. But Bryce Underwood surely underwhelmed last year with an entire new staff there. He's got a bunch of new people to win over, most importantly, Kyle Whittingham, and we'll see how that works out. And I think I don't see Michigan totally having the wind taken out of their sails this year, but I think it's going to take a year or two for Kyle Whittingham to get this ship going in the right direction. We'll see. What else? We talked a little bit about quarterbacks last week. We can certainly get into that. We can get into whatever you want. We can also talk about we talked a lot on this show before we went on hiatus and the other shows that I do about the new eligibility requirements. There's another bill. This was passed by the NCAA. There's another bill in Congress to legislate some other things like NIL limitations and things like that. But there was an eligibility stipulation that was passed here this summer and put into effect now, where you've got 5 years to play 5 years of football from the time your graduating class graduates, even if you don't, or you're 19 years old. And that's it. Well, as I said a couple of weeks ago, and maybe I said last week, the NCAA and their rulings being what they are, we're going to have lawsuits, and we've got them. There's a whole bunch of players that have sued the NCAA looking for an injunction to this rule and trying to get a fifth year because they ran out of eligibility last year. And a lot of these guys were drafted. I think there's 16 or maybe a little bit better NFL players under contract in the NFL who fall into this bucket. So theoretically, if they were cut by the NFL, they could go back to school. Indiana, I believe, is already bringing back their top pass rusher from last year who falls into this bucket. His name's escaping me at the moment, but kind of screwy, right? I mean, good grief. And as we look at these teams, we'll talk about some overrated and underrated teams, but it's your show too, so bring those topics and we'll get into them. 10 days. Alan Perales, how are you? You know what, Alan? I got to tell you what. I'm starting to come around a little bit on Oklahoma. I know I've been tough on your coach, Brent Venable. He can't afford another 6-6 or 7-5 season this year. I think he's got to win big. And I think Oklahoma has got a chance to maybe finish second or third in the SEC this year. A lot's going to depend on John Mateer, obviously, and playing some defense. But I think I've been too hard on what they're going to do coming into this year. The more I've had a chance to dig in a little bit, I'm kind of liking Oklahoma a little bit more. And we'll look at the whole SEC here at some point today. And good afternoon and good evening to you, Danny Fuller, out there in sunny California. How you feeling about UCLA and their new coach and coaching staff? And I know that I'm trying to come up with the your new coach's name. I'm going to have to go to my cheat sheet here, so bear with me for a second. From James Madison, right? It'll come to me. Oh, Danny's going to have it up here before I find it. Bob Chesney, thank you. And I know he brought a bunch of guys with him. There's a lot of interesting new coaches around the world of college football. You know what I found out today? I didn't realize, as I was kind of looking at some of the conferences and looking to have some conversation today, I was looking at the ACC, and I think Virginia Tech is going to get some immediate return from Franklin, who I think this is probably where he fits well. He's not going to win the ACC this year, but I can see this team going to a bowl game. You know what I didn't know until I was doing a little research today is Brent Pry, the coach that was fired 3 games into his last season after just a couple of seasons in Blacksburg, is the defensive coordinator for James Franklin. You don't see that every day. Thank you, Danny. Kenny Chesney. Bob Chesney's Kenny Chesney's brother, I think. No, I don't think he is. But I'm curious what Danny thinks about that team popping in here and maybe listen, that could make noise in the Big Ten. Although I do think it's just a gut feeling, and a lot of it's because of Gary Patterson coming in to run that defense. I think USC is going to make a little bit of noise in the Big Ten this year, and I think they've got an outside shot at going to the championship game. Again, quarterback play will matter in how much Patterson can improve that defense. And of course, you know, the Lincoln Riley haters, he's going to have to disprove a lot of what they think about his play calling and whatever else, game planning. But UCLA, hopefully they're on the right track back. We'll see how that goes. Whoops, I didn't read you, Chris. I'll get back to you. Seems to have so much energy. He will have his challenges with USC, no doubt. Hello, Chris. If you set a record, had a legendary college football life, but went nowhere in the NFL, would you be considered a bust? No, not in college football. You might be considered. We've had this discussion before. I have anyway. If you're a great college football player, Tim Tebow, Archie Manning, or I'm sorry, Archie Griffin. There's a bunch of other guys that I could sit here and come up with. There's John Cappelletti, who won the Heisman Trophy. Just because these guys didn't turn into great NFL players doesn't mean they're a bust. They're still great college football players. Some of the greatest college football players in the history of the game didn't make it in the NFL, at least not big. Tim Tebow is one of the top 5 college football players of all time in this guy's mind. But I also think Archie Griffin is maybe number 1. Won back-to-back Heismans. Nobody's ever done it. But anyway, he's certainly among the great college players of all time. Not everybody's Jim Brown. Not everybody's O.J. Simpson. Sorry. Not everybody's Peyton Manning. So, yes, you can still be a great, great college football player and be a 100% bust in the NFL. Doesn't reflect on your college career in any way, shape, or form. Now, no, I don't agree. I don't agree at all. Well, again, unless you're saying, I'm saying you're an NFL bust does not impact your history in college football. They're two different sports in a lot of ways. Well, they're not as much today as they were, but I will never lose my belief that, again, Tim Tebow is one of the greatest college football players of all time. It's irrelevant to his college football career that he was a bust in the NFL. So again, unless I'm misunderstanding the question, one thing doesn't impact the other. Hell, there was guys who didn't have any college football careers that played great in the NFL. Doesn't make them great college players if they never were great players just because they were great in the NFL. Two different leagues. I can separate the two. But a great college football quarterback. Right? Am I wrong? I mean, he won part of a national championship. Just saying. It's only one man's opinion. It doesn't, again, bust, NFL bust? Yes. Doesn't impact what his career was in college. He was a fine player. I mean, look at the list of Heisman Trophy candidates. Are all those guys, I don't think it tarnishes their college career. Maybe I'm misunderstanding what Chris is trying to get at. Are you an NFL bust? Absolutely. If you don't make it in the NFL, you're a bust. But it does no impact on what your career was before you got to the NFL. Again, for decades, the Heisman Trophy winners didn't do well in the NFL. Now, more recently, I think they probably had more success than previous. What's this thing doing? Why is this so backwards? All right, let me see if we'll go through some of these for you. Why is this thing? Oh, there we go. Mendoza, we don't know about. Travis Hunter, still too early. Jaden Daniels, playing okay, not a bust. Let's just say buster, not a bust. Mendoza, too early. Travis Hunter, too early, I'm still going to say. Not a bust, Jaden Daniels. Not a bust, Caleb Williams. Not a bust, Bryce Young, I guess, is up in the air. Devontae Smith, not a bust. Joe Burrow, certainly not a bust. Kyler Murray, not a 100% bust. He's not Ryan Leaf. He's not Tim Tebow. Lamar Jackson, certainly not a bust. Derrick Henry, not a bust. Marcus Mariota, again, doesn't lessen his college career at Oregon, which was stellar, that he hasn't been a standout in the NFL. Same with Jameis Winston. Johnny Manziel, to me, he might have been a bust overall because he was like a media creation. Robert Griffin, Cam Newton. Cam Newton played well in the NFL. Robert Griffin, the third, injuries sidetracked him. Mark Ingram, he had a decent NFL career. Sam Bradford was a bust in the NFL. Tim Tebow, bust in the NFL. Troy Smith, a bust in the NFL. Reggie Bush, bust-ish, but not quite. Matt Leinart, I'd call a bust. Jason White, a bust. Carson Palmer, again, Carson Palmer made it. But bunch of these guys now are getting into that era where guys didn't make it in the NFL. Why should that tarnish their accomplishments in college? It shouldn't. Injuries derailed his career. Yes, Kajana Carter was. I think he had a very good rookie year, if I'm not mistaken. Or did he get hurt in his rookie year? Because they had Achilles Smith as well, the Bengals. Got that one. Went the wrong way. Tom Marijuanovic. I wouldn't say that he had a great college career or a pro career, though. I wouldn't put him in the bucket I'm talking about. And again, I think I understand the spirit of Chris's question. I mean, every school has had great guys with great college careers whose careers didn't go any further. Tons of them. I mean, you look at Ed Marinaro, another great guy. Didn't win a great example, I think. Great college career at Colgate. Maybe should have won a Heisman Trophy. And didn't have that much of an NFL career. In fact, it's funny because I've been rereading some old sporting news. And he really wanted out of Minnesota because they wouldn't utilize him. They had Chuck Foreman, so how were they going to? But he had a couple of decent years, and if you extrapolate the numbers out, he would have been a really effective running back. But then he went to the Jets. So he kind of flamed out, but he was a great college player at a lower level. Again, Colgate, if my memory serves correct. Johnny Manziel is a great example of who he is throwing to. I agree. And even the Heisman. I'm using the Heisman as a barometer, but a lot of guys won Heismans because of guys they were throwing to, Chris, or the system they played in. Right, some of these guys like Andre Ware, Ike Detmer. These are guys who didn't go on to have great NFL careers, but to me, even their Heismans, I wouldn't consider them great college players like I would consider Archie Griffin or Tim Tebow, to use my two prime examples all the time, because of the systems that they played in. I think led to some extraordinary numbers for the times they were playing in. I mean, you look at those guys now, and they'd be just somebody else in college football, right? That's a pretty good example, Rick. I think no Heisman trophies, but again, a very solid college football player, and not having success in the NFL should not tarnish what he did at Georgia at all. Not everybody. How many guys have won 2 championships as quarterbacks at major colleges? Again, I know there's a couple. Or are there? I'm thinking about Alabama. I can't think of anybody won back-to-back. I guess Tua probably did. Did Tua win back-to-back? Again, I think Stetson Bennett, and I'm not just saying that because I offered to ease up on Georgia a little bit, is a great example. I love these conversations, right? I love talking about the games we have today, but we don't have any games yet. It's all conjecture that we'd be talking about. So I like some of these. I'm glad you brought this up, Chris. I like getting into conversations about who were the best players in college. What they did afterwards. Does it matter? A.J. McCarron. A lot of Alabama quarterbacks had great success and didn't have much success in the NFL. So that's a good example. I'm trying to think of a Sooner. I was trying to think, and Rick came up with a Georgia bulldog for me. I'm trying to think of a UCLA guy. The only guy that comes to my mind is John Shara, who took UCLA to a Rose Bowl and played a little bit in the NFL with the Eagles, I think, because Dick Vermeil went to the Eagles and Shara played for Vermeil, I think. I'm trying to think of an Oklahoma Sooner who was great in college, and Marcus Dupree, great college player. Of course, he didn't end up spending his whole time at Oklahoma. He may not be the greatest example. I guess, do I count Sam Bradford? I guess we can talk about Kyler Murray. We can talk about, Mayfield's been a good player. But again, it doesn't do anything to diminish. I'm trying to go back to like the Switzer days too, Alan, which I know predates you. But I'm trying to think of a great player on those teams who flamed out in the NFL. Can't say Billy Sims, because Billy Sims was really good in the NFL till he got hurt. Ron Dane had a little bit of success with the Giants, but he was a great, great college running back. 100% right, Danny. It's a good call. Sam Bradford. Yeah, Alan talked about Sam Bradford. I think he'd be the guy. Jason White's another one. I think back-to-back. Didn't they win back-to-back Heismans, Alan? I'm trying to go back to the heyday of, and again, those guys played for Bob Stoops, so those were really good Oklahoma teams as well. I'm trying to get back to Switzer or even Bud Wilkinson, but I don't go back as far as Bud Wilkinson. I do, but I'm trying to think of guys on Switzer's teams. I mean, he had some quarterbacks, right, that were really good quarterbacks. Who's a guy who went on to be a senator? Watts, really good college quarterback, option quarterback, didn't throw the ball a lot, but he was a great, as far as winning games in college, won tons of games. J.C. Watt, right? J.C. Watt? No, J.C. Watts. I may have it totally wrong. Bosworth is another great one. That's probably a better one, Alan. Yeah, that's a good one. Danny Werfel, another good one. There was a couple guys in Florida, in the state of Florida, James. Werfel, who's a guy who was like 27 years old at Florida State. Charlie Ward is another one with Florida State. Danny Cannell. Again, now I'm getting into just names, right? I can't put Danny Werfel on the same level as Tim Tebow, right? So we got to have levels of greatness here. But there's some good names. Boz, yeah, that was his one shining moment. I guess not shining, but his one moment in the NFL. Was getting run over in a Monday Night Football by Bo Jackson, who just ran right into the locker room. A lot of Brian Bosworth love here, or anti-love. Dial a friend. Chris Wenke, thank you, Alan. Chris Wenke won at like 26 or 7 years old. He won the Heisman Trophy. So the Heisman's not really and a lot of these guys went on to have great careers, right? Gino Torretta, another guy from Miami, Heisman Trophy winner. Can't leave any of them out. Ryan Leaf came up earlier. So in the spirit of Chris's question, I'm still going to say, when you have a great college career and you flame out in the NFL, yeah, you're an NFL bust, but it does not tarnish your college accomplishments in the slightest. As a rule. Again, there's an exception here and there, and I might use Johnny Manziel for my exception. Good stuff. Good stuff. Let's take a look at, so the AP poll came out. How much different are they than the coaches poll? Ohio State was on top. Oregon was on top for both. Georgia, Notre Dame, and Texas flip-flop in the in the AP poll. A lot of, the more I dive into Notre Dame's schedule, they better not lose. If they lose to BYU and Miami, they're not getting in the playoff because the rest of their schedule is not hard. Those two games are great. I think they're going to lose. I think they're going to beat Miami in South Bend. That might be Miami's only loss of the year. Because I think they're going to run the table in the ACC. And even if they have a hiccup, they're going to get into the ACC championship game. You remember, the 4 power conferences have automatic bids this year, which they haven't had in the past. It isn't going to matter where they finish. But I think Notre Dame's going to lose at BYU. BYU is going to be fired up for that game. They're really good. Maybe the best team in the Big 12. Them and Texas Tech, I think, are preseason bragging rights. But we'll see how that plays out. So Texas and Notre Dame flipping this poll. I think Texas will be really good. I think Arch will have a really good year. Indiana stays 6. Indiana, as I said, Hoover might be the weak spot is replacing the quarterback. They've got a lot of really good players. They've had a pretty good portal season. They bring back 15 really good players, key players. They've got a young wide receiver to kind of step in to some holes there. They miss, I think, Ohio State and Michigan on the schedule this year, if I'm not mistaken. I think Indiana will be fine. The question with Indiana, when does Kurt Cignetti start to wear on people? I've been in love with Kurt Cignetti and, his sound bites since he came in and said, I win, Google me. But some of his snippiness is, and the more he wins, the more he'll weigh on people. I want to predict that this time a year from now, if he continues to win, he's got to continue to win, prefaces. This time, 2 years from now, more people will hate Kirk Cignetti than like him. DeMarcus Russell's a great one, Brian. Great job there. Again, I wouldn't put him on Tim Tebow's level, but I would say, significant college career. Chris is here. I asked one question. You can feel 2 inches of bar peanuts on the ground. Great. Yeah, that was a good question. That's one that type of question will always elicit conversation. Where did I leave off? Texas A&M is 8-8. Oklahoma and Ole Miss flip-flop in this poll. Ole Miss goes ahead of Oklahoma. I think Ole Miss is going to have some issues this year. I know they got Lacey back. They've got Trinidad Chambliss, who in a lot of areas is, including Jack Hirsch's, he's the number 1 quarterback in college football. I don't think we're going to say that. Remember, every year, this time last year, we were talking about Arch Manning. We were talking about Drew Allar. We were talking about Klubnik. We were talking about Sellers. We were talking about all these guys who were irrelevant come draft time. Nobody was talking about Fernando Mendoza this time of year. Trinidad Chambliss is going to have a step back, maybe not because of his talent, but because Lane Kiffin and his staff are gone. And you can tell me Lane Kiffin was gone and he played great in the playoff, but guess what? Lane Kiffin's offensive staff was still there, including Charlie Weiss Jr., who was calling the plays. That staff isn't there anymore. I think Ole Miss has a tough year this year. Oklahoma, I'm liking more and more, as I said. I know I've been hard on them in the past, hard on Brent Venable. I got a feeling his team's going to play well. And again, it hinges on John Mateer. A lot of teams obviously hinge on their quarterback. LSU is 11 in this poll, only 13 in the coaches poll. And again, I'm sorry, James, but I think it's going to take a year. I think this team goes 9-3, and they might make the playoff at 9-3. But I think they're going to lose a couple of games in conference, if not 3. Let me look at LSU's schedule real quick. I'll do it after. I'll do it right now. As we like to do, look at the schedule. They beat Clemson because Clemson's not going to be that good. Louisiana Tech, they win. Ole Miss, at Ole Miss. I'm going to say that's a loss just because of everything that's going to be going on there. I can see them losing. They got Texas A&M home. I'll give you a win there. McNeese is a win. Kentucky's a win. Mississippi State's a win. I think they're going to lose at Auburn. Auburn's going to be, I think, a lot better this year. Their quarterback is going to surprise some people. I think they're going to lose to either Alabama. So look at it this way. They're going to lose somewhere in here. Maybe they don't lose to Auburn. But they're going to lose 2 games out of Auburn, Alabama, Texas, and Tennessee. I think they lose 2 of those games, which will give them 3 losses. I think they lose 3 games in the ACC, or the SEC, sorry. But I think they still will have a chance at the playoff. I know that won't be popular with oh, did I say that wrong? Oh, I thought they didn't have them at all. I thought they were. Oh, I'm thinking of Wisconsin. I'm sorry, because I had in my head I was thinking of Wisconsin and Luke Fickell when I was thinking about coaches and guys that might or might not be in trouble. I think Luke Fickell is going to survive in Wisconsin because he doesn't have a tough schedule. Sorry. Thank you for straightening me out there, Danny. Texas Tech is still 12 in both polls. Listen, Will Harrell's a really good quarterback. He was a guy that they were hinging their future on when he got hurt. His backup had to play. That's why they brought in Brendan Sorley, who was kind of Sorsby, who was really plan B. Harrell was a plan A all along. I think Texas Tech is going to be better on offense and maybe a little bit worse on defense. They'll battle BYU for that Big 12 conference title. I think Oklahoma State will be the most improved team in that conference, though. Alabama is 13 rather than 11 in this poll. USC is 14 in both. BYU's, what? Oh, we had a tie at 14. So BYU's tied for 14 with USC instead of 15. Michigan is 16 in both. Penn State falls to 18 here, where the coaches had them 17. Washington would be 17 in the AP poll. SMU is 19, up from 20. Tennessee is 20, down from 18. Utah's the same at 21. Iowa's the same at 22. Houston is up 1. Houston's going to be good in the Big 12 as well. Louisville, I think, will be either Louisville or SMU will probably play Miami for the ACC championship. And Missouri is 25th in both. Clemson got much more love in the AP poll than they did in the coaches poll. I'm sorry, they didn't. Sorry, Clemson was 23 in the coaches poll, so they got less love in the AP poll. Florida, about the same. Boise State. I'm looking at guys who are just out of the top 20. Navy got 10 votes. Navy is going to be somebody to think about as far as the group of 6 goes. People don't like consistent winners no matter what they say or how you say it. I agree 100%, James. One thing I've said through my entire adult life, well, I shouldn't say my entire adult life, but when I got old enough to understand how the world worked, I understood in the world of sports, we build people up so we can tear their asses down. When you're on the way up and you're an underdog, we all love you. We love you. When you're a great story and blah, 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 we love you, pat you on the back. As soon as you're there, can't wait to knock your ass off that podium or that pedestal. This country's really good at that. J-Train, that's facts unless it's your team. 100% true there, too. I love John Wooden from the time I could remember. That's a great point. Unless it's your team. John Wooden revered. Listen, I revered John Wooden. But a lot of people have tried to tear John Wooden down over the decades and try to knock that dynasty down because of Sam Gilbert and other things. But again, those other things were probably going on other programs, but they weren't doing it as well. And you know how I feel about that. again, before you point fingers somewhere else, you have to remember your program has got a Sam Gilbert. Everybody's program has got a Sam Gilbert. Happy birthday to Century Man, Joe Burke. He'd be 126 years old today. That would be something on a record if he was still alive. Product of Washington State College. It's incredible. It's incredible the history Washington State has. Well, they were part of a historic conference until we wrecked it. James got him winning 10, so you're going to have him winning 3 of those 4 games I talked about, I guess. I'd love to know who you think they're going to lose to. So you got them losing 2. I got them losing 3. That's not an easy schedule, by the way, for LSU in Lane Kiffin's inaugural season in LSU. He's got that tough trip to Ole Miss. He's got Alabama at home. Texas A&M, although I think they'll be a little bit down from last year, which is never easy. I think that team will go as far as their quarterback takes them as well. If he steps up a little bit, I think they may step up. But with LSU, I'm worried. Sam Leavitt's a really good quarterback. Sam Leavitt's had some injury issues as well. If he can't stay on the field, I don't know what their plan B is there, James. You may know better than I do. But I'm curious who you had them losing to. And I do have my Hurricanes losing 1 game. They could lose 2. They could lose to. They could lose to. They could lose 1 game in conference. I think they might lose at Clemson, even though Clemson's not very good. Who else do they have? I got to refresh my own memory. God, the league is not very good. I mean, if they lose a conference game, I'm going to be shocked. I mean, the best chances that are at Clemson. They're not losing to North Carolina. Maybe Duke, but that's at home. I mean, historically, that'd be a game that Miami would lose. But I think they're going to be too good this year. And that's not just, listen, I'm hard on my teams. I think you know that. I am not a rose-colored glasses kind of guy. I am not going to sit here and tell you that this team's going to go 12-0 because I think they're going to lose to Notre Dame on the road. And there could be another pitfall there somewhere because that's been their history. Even last year. I mean, this team got to the national championship game, but they nearly were. You know, it's debatable whether they should have been part of that crowd still. So in any event, I think we talked about the group of 6 last year, and I think we talked about the Navy situation. Obviously, the top group of 6 teams still. The big changes into the playoff are all 4 of the power conferences and the best. Well, that's not a change. All 4 of the power conferences get an automatic bid. The group of 6 still gets a bid, at least today. And Notre Dame gets in if they're in the top 12. Again, you know what? If Notre Dame loses 2 games, because the rest of their schedule, they should not lose. They should run away with those games. Their schedule's not strong enough to be able to lose to both BYU and Miami. And again, I don't think they lose to Miami at home. I think they lose to BYU on the road. It's coming. Whether it's this year or not, Chris, I'm not sure. But I think I talked about this last week. Let me see if I can find. And I don't know if it's just gambling. I think it's I think it's like advertisements in general. College football. I think it might be this year, but it's not just gambling. It could be anybody. August 1st, 2026. It starts placement limit up to 2 logo patches on jerseys and apparel, 1 logo on equipment like a helmet. So you could have up to 3. This is NASCAR. I think I said this last week. College football is now NASCAR. The players are going to be billboards for advertisement. This is comical. And again, I know this has happened in sports years ago in baseball stadiums. The outfield fences might be lined with advertisements, right? It's not like this is new, but it's new for college kids. So again, you can have up to 2 logos on your jersey / apparel, 1 logo on equipment like a helmet during the regular season and preseason. They're capped at a maximum of 4 square inches. In the postseason, an extra commercial logo is permitted for specifically for conference championship games. So you can go to a 5th. Again, these are going to be walking NASCAR guys. I don't know. Does this conflict, I guess, with my capitalistic instincts that these kids should be able to do this and I shouldn't have any bitch about it? Am I being hypocritical? I don't know. Maybe I am. Fan reactions, tradition versus reality. Many traditionalists and fans on platforms like Reddit express a clear consensus of dislike. They're all old and cranky like me, viewing the patches as an unwelcome and ugly wave of commercialization. Pragmatism. Others acknowledge that corporate sponsorships are a necessary financial mechanism for athletic departments to stay competitive in modern college athletics. Oh my God. Would you like to know which specific corporations are already inked jersey patch deals with programs like Ohio State? No, I don't care. You think I like that Auburn pick. So you think they beat Ole Miss and Alabama, but lose to, well, they got 1 more loss if they're going to win 10 games. So you got to have them losing 1 game out of, I don't think Kentucky, not Mississippi State. Oh, Texas. You got them losing to Texas, I guess, as well. Would that be their second loss, James? Texas. Yeah, just breaking the action. Yeah, maybe I'll get one right here on my forehead. Let me find something. Here. This break is brought to you by Nature's Valley. I'll wear this on my head right here. I can make it stick. Or Powerade. I'm not getting paid anything, man. Look at how many Powerade shots I give you. Everybody needs to step up. See my helmet back there? I can put logos on that too. Why does my wall look crooked today? My computer's crooked, that's why. I don't know if you guys see it crooked or not. I just realized my wall looked like it was going downhill. But it's my computer because my stand is a little wobbly. I tend to put too much weight up here on top of my laptop. Anyway, right? YouBetTheChicken.com. I don't know whether gambling sites are legal. Now you got me going back to this thing. Let me look at. Let's see here. I love ChatGPT, by the way. Are there gambling sites? No gambling sites or sports books are allowed on college football uniforms. Hallelujah. There's some sense of reason left in the world of college sports. Why you won't see any sports book patches? NCAA stance on gambling. The NCAA maintains strict rules against sports betting in college athletics. You can bet on them, but not in. Meaning gambling platforms like DraftKings or Caesars Palace are prohibited from buying this specific advertising. They're available to sell advertising everywhere else in college football, but not on the uniforms. Thank you for that, by the way. Wow. Schools of liberty restrict jersey patches to family-friendly or corporate-aligned sectors. I guarantee you, week one, somebody's going to be offended by somebody who's sponsoring somebody. Anybody willing to take me up on a bet on that? So banking, healthcare, and nonprofits make up the bulk of the people that have paid for these millions of dollars worth of ads. You can't make it up. So we just talked about who the top teams are. Who are the worst teams in college football this year? This is interesting. And by the way, we got real football next week, so let's get ready. The bottom 10. UMass, terrible. UMass was 0-12 last year. And again, one of the worst transfer portals in college football. Sam Houston, only a couple of years into conference play, they were 2-10 last year. They're probably going to be horrible again this year. Georgia State, 1-11 last year. Charlotte, 1-11 last year. Probably going to be just as bad. Oh, it's funny. This guy puts Jaden Daniels in his bottom 5 because he's fifth. Fifth, Jaden Daniels. Coveted cis. You can't use a number 5 or he'll send you an angry letter. Sacramento State. They were 5-7 last year in FCS, but it's their first year in the Football Bowl Conference and Division I, playing in the MAC. Because why wouldn't Sacramento play with a bunch of schools that play in, the Mid-East? Oh, God. They'll be terrible. Their closest rival is 2,100 miles away. Northern Illinois. They've moved to the Mountain West, and they weren't very good in the MAC last year, and now they've moved to the Mountain West because, of course, the Northern Illinois team belongs playing Boise State. Louisiana Monroe. Man. UTEP and Middle Tennessee State. Some of the worst teams in the country. Who's your vote for a bottom 10 team we didn't? Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find a team that belongs in the bottom 10 there. If we could bump one team out, I'm not even going to pick a team to bump out. I'll say Sacramento State so they don't have to be sacrificial lambs, okay? Contenders for this, I would say, could be UConn's going to be pretty good, I think, by the way. But again, for what? Kent State, I would say, although they're a little bit better, I would say is a contender for this bottom 10. North Dakota State's going to be, I'm not going to say they're a bottom 10 team, but they're going to be interesting in their first season in Division I FBS football. No. Kent State's really my only. Georgia State's already there. Maybe UL Monroe's already there. I think we got it covered. Kent State's my only contender to maybe crack that bottom 10. So that wasn't all that interesting, was it? Oh my God. Let's talk some coaching. Who's on a hot seat, by the way? I want to look at the coaching tiers a little bit. I mean, guys have moved up. Kurt Signetti has moved up into tier 1, the standard, right? Where everybody should be shooting for. I think there's only 2 guys there right now, and that's Kirby Smart and Kirk Signetti. I think Signetti's there. He's only got 1 national championship, I understand. But what he's done at Indiana has been unprecedented in the few years that he's been there. And he's never had a losing season in 15 years as a head coach. And he coached at some great Alabama teams when he was a head coach. Kirby Smart as well. Guys who are trying to move into that tier, and you can tell me if you don't. So they're in the second tier, and you can tell me if they don't belong. I'm going to tell you if I think they don't belong too. Marco Cristobal. Yeah. I mean, Marco started last year closer to tier 3 than tier 2. Marco Cristobal, Ryan Day, who close to getting to that next tier. Kalen DeBoer. James Franklin is closer to 3 than 2 in my mind. Marcus Freeman, good spot. Lane Kiffin. I think he's closer to 3 than 2 still. Dan Lanning, I'm okay with. Steve Scarsazian, again, I don't think he's in tier 2. Dabo, he was in tier 1. He's dropped to tier 2, and I have to agree. He's on his way to tier 3. Kyle Whittingham, 2. Tier 3's consistency with upside. What did I miss here? Did I miss a couple of... sorry if I missed a couple comments. The Cleveland Browns would be the bottom 10 of college football. And in Columbus, how are you, my friend? I think I'd rather watch UTEP in Middle Tennessee than the Browns. Are you a Browns fan, Ed? I know that you're obviously a big Ohio State fan. It's great to have you back with us. We're back live at 7 p.m. Eastern every Wednesday, or most every Wednesday. I'm sure we'll miss something but vacation or whatever in the middle of the season. But it's good to have you with us. And are you a Browns fan? And if you are, I'm so sorry. It's a good question. Would the Browns win the SEC? I don't think they would. I don't know if they would. Again, I understand it's impossible. It's a theoretical. It's impossible to prove. And I've always thought the worst NFL teams would still win against every other college football team. But now it's a little different with, kids getting paid in college and whatnot. Chris says Texas college football, if we go as far as shutter Oklahoma, how many college football teams does Texas have? What level? Major college? A bunch. It would be funny if somebody like Houston were the only team in Texas to make the playoff. How many teams in college? I'm sorry, how many teams? Division I. How many teams in Texas? North Texas, Rice. I can't count Oklahoma, by the way. UTSA. The Atlantic Coast Conference, I would say, can't have any teams for Texas, but you can't assume anything anymore. The Big 12, nobody in Texas, do they? Oh, no, they do. Yes, they do. What am I talking about? Baylor, Houston, TCU, Texas Tech. Big 10 has nobody in Texas. Please tell me they don't. Of course they don't. Can't assume anything. Conference USA. Sam Houston. We're up to 8. Mid-American Conference. Nobody. Mountain West. They probably got teams. UTEP. That's 9. Pac-12, Texas State, that's 10. Southeastern Conference obviously has some. Texas A&M. Isn't there one other one? Guess that's it. Texas, only 2. Sun Belt. Sun Belt has nobody. Interesting. That's it. We got 12 teams in major college football from Texas. Ryan Day is tier. I guess if I'm going to give Kurt Signetti tier 1, I'm going to have to give you Ryan Day. I said he was close, and I'll make that call. He goes in. And it's ironic you make that comparison, though, Ed, because he doesn't beat Michigan again, as a rule. He's beating them last year and maybe this year. I found it interesting, Ed, since you're here. So they moved which I find very odd, because all it is the seniors get to walk 30 seconds across the field with their parents on senior day, and they moved that away from the Michigan game to week 1, I think, right? Week 1. Is that necessary? And also Kyle Whittingham, maybe because of obvious reasons, is playing the whole rivalry down. And does a rivalry lose something? Because it's never, ever going to be all or nothing for these two teams. Well, I shouldn't say never, ever. But rarely is it going to be all or nothing for these two teams. Because if they both go in 11-0 ever, 10-1, they're both going to the playoffs. It's not like all those years where they'd meet for the right to go to the Rose Bowl and a chance maybe at a national championship, which I still think is for years I was sold on a playoff. I no longer am, because there are so many great rivalry games that are not all or nothing anymore. And while they still mean something, this will mean something to Ohio State and Michigan forever. The Oregon State, Oregon, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, which aren't playing anymore, at least for now, will always mean something to those schools in those regions. But nationally, all of these rivalries now are watered down. As somebody outside of the Ohio, Michigan area, I grew up being enamored with Ohio State, Michigan, Nebraska, Oklahoma, because those games had an all or nothing feel to it. And rarely is that going to be the case anymore, at least on a national basis. Yeah, I'm sorry, Ed. SMU, what's SMU? Rick? Oh, SMU, I forgot. 13, thank you. Somehow I missed the ACC in that. Thank you, Rick. So 13 teams from Texas. All right, let me go to tier 3 right now, where I think, by the way, Dabo's on his way to tier 3. I think Lane Kiffin's in tier 3. I think James Franklin is in tier 3. So how about these guys, and can we move any of them up? Brent Bielema, I think he's positioned very well there. Jeff Brom, very well. Matt Campbell, very well. If he succeeds at Penn State, he will ascend to tier 2. Bob Chesney moves up. He was in tier 5 last year in these rankings. He's moved up to 3 now with his hiring at UCLA. Spencer Danielson. Kenny Dillingham moved up to 4. Eli Drinkwitz was 3. Still 3. Sonny Dykes. Mike Elko, Kirk Ferenz. Oh, man. Guess I can't. I'd love to move Kirk Ferenz up, but I can't. PJ Fleck, Willie Fritz, Josh Heupel, Rhett Lachey. Boy, he's a guy that, man, one big year. He's had big years, but he needs a playoff win, maybe a championship appearance to really get into tier 2, maybe. Clark Lee at Vanderbilt, Joey McGuire, Bronco Mendenhall, Dan Mullen, Lincoln Riley. He's fallen out of tier 2, by the way. Rich Rodriguez, Kalani Sataki. Listen, there's a guy. He's moved up from 4 to 3, and he's ready to go to 2. John Sumrall, new coach at Florida. Fair. Usually solid, tier 4. Brett Brennan. Shane Beamer should be 3, man, but he just can't be consistent. Troy Calhoun fell from 3 to 4. I like Troy Calhoun, but it's tough for the service academies. The Navy and Army have done exceptionally well in this new environment of NIL money and transfer portals and whatnot. Army and Navy's done exceptionally well the last couple of seasons. Navy coming out of some doldrums, actually. But Air Force has really taken the worst of it. And Troy Calhoun's a really, really good coach. Jamie Chadwell, Manny Diaz up from 5. Dave Durian. Luke Fickle falls from 3 to 4. Troy Calhoun's down from 3. Jamie Chadwell's down from 3. This is as far as we'll go with this, too, I think. Pat Fitzgerald wasn't rated. Jed Finch still at 4. Jay, he's ready to go up to 3, though. Jed Fish is ready to go up to 3. Alex Grolish, I think he'll move maybe to 3 because I think Alex Grolish is going to really have a great impact at Auburn. Brought his quarterback with him. I expect Auburn to be much better this year and competitive in a very competitive SEC. Huff, Brent Key. These are all fair. Eric Morris is another guy. He's up from 7 to 4. Now that he's taken over Oklahoma State, again, brought his quarterback with him, Brett Messmeyer, and a bunch of guys with him to Oklahoma State. I expect them to make some noise in the Big 12 this year, and I think you'll see him ready to move up another tier maybe next year. Matt Rule, I think 4 is probably fair. Again, it's time for Matt Rule to get something done at Nebraska. Actually, you know what I'm going to do after this? I'm done with these guys now. I saw in the New York Post today, they have 5 crazy. Let me get to this first. What do you got, Ed? I like to change. Day knows Michigan matters, unlike John Cooper. What was he, 1-7-1? Day isn't running from his record against Michigan, 1-3. Day gonna go an urban type run again. You think he's gonna go on an urban type run against Wolverines? I don't know. I think the adults are back running Michigan again, and I wouldn't sell Kyle Whittingham short. If Bryce Underwood can mature a little bit, I don't think Michigan's going to be a factor in the Big Ten race or the playoff chase this year. But I think they're a year away from being really good with a good quarterback. Don't sell Kyle Whittingham short. They don't comply with the NIL. Well, they don't participate. They get a handful of transfer players, by the way. They lose in the transfer portal, and rarely do they gain anything value back. And NIL, they can't take advantage of it all, obviously. So this is why Army and Navy, by the way, I think have really gone against the grain of that. Really should hurt them more than it has. I mean, Army and Jeff Monken have been on a great run these last 4 or 5 years. Navy, the last couple of years, right, have played really, really well and been playoff contenders with that group of 6 pick. And they're going to be this year, most likely. Army might take a little step back, but I think Navy's going to be really good. So that'll be kind of interesting to see. But it is. But Air Force is taking a brunt of it. To me, they were the most consistent of the service academies through the years, especially under Troy Calhoun and under Fisher DeBerry. Before that, they were very consistent winners out west. And now they've fallen on hard times with a really good football coach, by the way, in Troy Calhoun. Early hot seats, Mike Norvell may not survive. Again, we had some firings in week 3 last year. I think Mike Norvell's on one of the hottest of hot seats. And colleges don't often fire guys in the middle of the season. We see a handful, and we don't see them as early as week 3, but we saw it with Brent Pry last year, who, interestingly enough, I think I mentioned earlier, is now the defensive coordinator for James Franklin. I think Mike Norvell's on the hottest of hot seats. Let me get my okay. Shane Beamer could be one of those guys. I do expect South Carolina to bounce back strong, but I think if they don't, I think Shane Beamer is going to be on the hottest of seats. Dave Aranda from Baylor. He had a really good debut season, and it's been mostly bad since then. I said this before. It won't be early in the season, but Bill Belichick is 2 and done at North Carolina. It's over. They're winning 3 games this year, guys. Take a look at that schedule, and you tell me where you're finding more than. Again, I've heard some people say they'll go 6-6, 7-5, and get a bowl game. They're not getting a bowl game because I can't see them winning more than 3 games. You might find 4, but you're not finding 5. Please tell me I'm wrong if you can. Luke Fickell barely survived last year, Rick, but I think they've got a very favorable schedule this year. It was them I was thinking about earlier when I said Indiana had a much softer schedule. Wisconsin had a horrendously tough schedule last year. This year they don't. They played pretty well the second half of last year. So I think he survives. Mike Loxley at Maryland, definitely in trouble. Good coach, too. I don't think this will come to pass, but I think Lincoln Riley is on a hot seat, but I think he gets off it this year. I think USC is going to be a player in that Big Ten this year. If they don't get to the championship game, I think they're going to be very close. And one that will be probably pretty polarizing. I think this is Deion's last year in Colorado. He won 3 games last year, won 3 games his first year. I don't know that this team is going to win. Again, I don't think they win 5 games. And I think Deion, I think Bill Belichick, they will be mutually decide to take a different path. Not even transfers in the service academies. Those players are strictly military. Some guys have transferred out, though. Brian. Hold on. I saw a couple names the other day. I don't know if I'm going to find this quick enough or not. 2-year window. Cadets and midshipmen can exit and enter the transfer portal prior to the beginning of their junior academic season without facing active duty service penalties. After their sophomore year, so if they leave after the start of their junior year, that means they owe active military service or must reimburse the government for their education costs. So there is a way to get out, and graduate can't. Rare exceptions. There's been graduate transfers as well. So there is a window there for them to get out of there, but small. You aren't seeing many. I was trying to find it because I saw a couple of names I was going to throw at you, but now I can't find them. Was it this article? It doesn't matter. We're not going to know the names that much anyway. We will always be sports related. Your Boston College great William Green gave my Browns the best play since they returned in 1999. As the late great Jim Donovan called, "Run, William, run." Jim Donovan. Good stuff. William Green, good player. Good player. Anyway, the New York Post had these 5 predictions for the college football season. And you tell me if any one of these which one of these, we'll say one of these has a better chance than any of the others. I don't think any of these are going to happen, by the way. But let's see which ones have the best chance of happening. 5 bold predictions for the college football season. UTSA, University of Texas, San Antonio, will be the only Lone Star team. We just talked about the 13 teams in Division I. They'll be the only Lone Star team to make the playoff. I don't think that one can happen. Texas Tech, SMU, Texas A&M, all have realistic chance. Houston, I would say that one has a very little chance of happening. So there's one. UTSA, only Lone Star team to make the playoff. Oklahoma State makes the Big 12 championship. This one has an outside chance. Outside chance. Right, Brian? Right. Oklahoma State has an outside chance. I like the hiring of Eric Morris. But remember, this team was really good under Mike Gundy and still find a way to go 0-18 in conference the last 2 years. I like Messmaker a lot. I like some of these other kids that are coming in here, and I do think this team will win some big games in the Big 12. I don't think they're getting to the championship game, but it has a better chance than UTSA being the only Texas team. And by the way, UTSA could make the playoff in the group of 6. But they're not going to be the only team in Texas. So anyway, I say there's a better chance of Oklahoma State than Texas. So I've got that one in first right now. Byron Brown. Now I've talked up Alex Grolish going to Alabama or Auburn, and he's going to have a positive effect here. And I think Auburn will be, again, much more competitive and near the top of the SEC. I don't think they're winning it. And I said that bringing his quarterback, Byron Brown, would be part of that. I do not think he's winning the Heisman Trophy. So I think that is second now to Oklahoma State being in the Big 12 championship game. Notre Dame beats LSU in the national championship game. Now, of all these 3 things that we've talked about, that might be the most realistic. Although I do think LSU's got a chance at the playoff. I'll give you my playoff picks next week. I'm not 100% sold yet on where I want to go. But I'll give you my playoff picks and my Final Four and championship game next week. This one might have the best chance of these 4 things so far. Where's the other thing? I think I missed one. I missed one. I think it's right at the top. Here's the 5th one. Nebraska will end Indiana's 21-game winning streak. So that assumes Indiana comes in at 5-0. They go into Memorial Stadium in Lincoln. I guess that's not beyond the realm of possibility. Can Indiana be 5-0? Where is Indiana? Now, we know they got a tough schedule. When is it? North Texas, Howard, Western Kentucky, Northwestern, and Rutgers. Then they'll be 5-0. They'll definitely be 5-0. Nebraska. Now, what's their record going to be? Good question. What's Nebraska's record going to be going into that game? This is a huge year. That would be a signature win for Nebraska. And they were close. They've been closest to signature wins in the last couple of years. Ohio, Bowling Green, North Dakota, Michigan State, Maryland. Very good chance these two teams go in there 5-0. Interesting. UTEP has a better chance than UTSA. No, UTSA. No, that's not. I mean, it is funny, but UTSA has a fighter's chance in the of getting a Group of 5 bid. Wide open. Navy is in play. Notre Dame all the way. I don't know about LSU getting there either. I do think they can make the playoff. I'm not sure that they're going to. I'm not sure that they're going to make it into the playoff. We'll see next week. I don't know. I got them 9-3. I know James has them 10-2. I have just this thing that Lane Kiffin's not going to get over the top right away. He's going to win national championship at LSU, without a doubt. I'm not sure Sam Levitt's a guy to get it done. And I like the kid, but injuries. I don't know. We'll see. So anyway, those are some pretty wild things the Post came up with, right? I think the most likely thing there, as I look at it, you know what? I'm going to go out on a limb. And I've been on Nebraska. I've been on Nebraska a couple of years that they're going to be better with Matt Rule because I'm a big Matt Rule fan. Matt, I'm going to say that's the number one thing that could happen. Of those 5 things, the most likely to happen is Nebraska ending Indiana's 21-game winning streak at home. There you have it. What else is going on in the world of college football news-wise? We talked about the 5th year of eligibility. It was bound to happen, lawsuits. You've got guys who have already signed NFL contracts that are going to get cut, that are going to potentially come back to their programs from last year with a 5th year of eligibility. Crazy. Bill Belichick has determined his quarterback to start the season. Billy Edwards Jr. has won that job over Miles O'Neill, a transfer from Texas A&M. I don't think it's going to happen. Bill Belichick, goodbye. Sayonara, right off into the sunset. He will decide to spend more time with his family if they want to spend time with him after this year. What a night. I mean, by the way, Bobby Petrino is now the offensive coordinator there. I can't think of a worse combination, head coach and offensive coordinator, than Bill Belichick and Bobby Petrino. Maybe they prove me wrong, but this looks like a problem waiting to happen. Bill, don't get on a motorcycle with the guys. All I can tell you right now. What else? Michigan, we're talking about Michigan quarterbacks. Their ex, whoops, it's the wrong story. Their ex-quarterback, Davis Warren, will be starting at Stanford this year. Stanford's not going to be very good. Stanford is, geez, they could be bottom 10 this year. I talked about the bottom 10. Stanford could be a contender for one of those spots this year. I think they're going to win 1 game, 2 games tops. Cal, on the other hand, could be an interesting outlier in the ACC. A very weak ACC outside of Miami. SMU and Louisville are going to be really good. How good, I don't know. I like SMU, though, with Jennings back at quarterback. They still got some talent on that offense, and I like their coach a lot last year. He's a really good coach. I don't care about All-American teams. We got some injuries. What else is going on here? in college football. Deion was, they tried to serve him papers at practice the other day, and he was conveniently missing. Kirk Cignetti said he wants Indiana to play Notre Dame, but this will never happen, by the way. And that's why I say Kirk Cignetti is really, they canceled a series. They had a series scheduled with Notre Dame that was supposed to start in 2030. So it wouldn't affect them this year or in the most recent coming seasons. In 2030, they were supposed to have a home-and-home series with Notre Dame, which Kirk Cignetti's canceled. Now, they do play 9 games in the Big Ten, and he's kind of intimated that, they should be penalized because they won't join a league. And he said, we'll be glad to consider a series with them in the future, assuming that we'd play 1 game there and 2 games here. Notre Dame's not going to do that. But these are the little things that make me wonder if Kirk Cignetti is starting to wear thin on people. I like his brashness, and I mean, I don't think my opinion will change, but people's opinions often change when it comes to this. Hold on, I got one more thing here. Brian's calling the convicts versus Catholics in the national championship. I might get there, Brian. It's very possible that I will go there. Again, I'm not a rose-colored kind of glasses guy with my teams. I didn't pick Miami to get to the national championship last year. I think I did pick them to get in the playoff. I had Notre Dame in the playoff last year. 2 years ago, I had them going and winning a national championship, and they were 1 game away from doing so. But I might just get there. Listen, these are 2 teams who had a great game last year. They'll probably have a great game in South Bend this year, which I think Miami may lose. Again, a lot of things are going to happen between then and now, or now and then. But this isn't out of the realm of possibility. That is, the pick 'em I haven't got to yet. I'll try to. I've been so busy with, playing golf. Maybe when I sit down after the show, I'll try to put it together. We got it, because I don't think there's games next week. Well, there's games next week. But I don't think the pick 'em starts till week 1. And the college draft, I'm in with Danny and Paul and a bunch of other peeps, is Friday night. Hello, Donna. Good to have you with us. Glad you stopped in to say hi. That's what winning a national champion does to Cignetti. He was like that before, though. I mean, I have to give the guy credit. He hasn't changed even a little bit. I mean, he was this way the minute he got to town. I mean, who says, and I like it. I still like his brashness. I really do. I mean, who says I win? Google me. I like the guy. And he really hasn't changed. People's opinion will change. So I guarantee you. Just human nature. If anyone's left after dismissals. We got lots of guys left. And as long as we don't have to send Jordan Lyles to Georgia for the driver's ed program. Let me check. Now I got to check something, Rick. I don't know if I'm going to get what I want, but. Rick's talking about Cam Vaughn I think you're talking about Cam Vaughn anyway, getting dismissed this week. Again, he's had some issues. He transferred in from somewhere else. I wanted to find a list because Cam Vaughn, Hayden Lowe, Nebraska, TCU, Rutgers, Kentucky. This is just, that's not even a list. I want a list of schools. I guess I'm not going to get it. This is not really going to impact, I don't think. I don't think this is going to impact Miami's approach at all. I think I like their wide receivers a lot. Malachi Toney, you will find out this year, he was the most electrifying freshman in the country last year. You're going to see him blossom into one of the best football players in the country this year. To go with one of the best transfer quarterbacks in the country this year in Mensa. So it's okay. You take your shots now. And again, I know I've taken a few shots at your Bulldogs. So it's fair. So again, no football yet this week. Next week, we will get started with real games. And we'll talk more about them next week. But we do have North Carolina going to Dublin to play TCU, which will be their first loss of the year. But there's some other interesting games on the schedule. I think San Jose State and USC will be interesting. North Dakota State gets their inaugural. They're only playing Jacksonville State, but they get their inaugural Division I FBS Bowl Division game. Sacramento State plays their first MAC game. Memphis plays UNLV, which I think will be a very interesting game and potentially have real impact. The only game of week 1 that I think could have real impact on playoff with playoff implications. And NC State plays Virginia, by the way, and we'll find out a little bit whether that Virginia team will be able to continue that momentum that they built last year. They've upgraded their quarterback situation. NC State and Jamie Chadwell, I think, may do better in his second year there. And this could be a really interesting ACC game to kick off week 0. So there's a couple interesting games to take a look at, and we'll look at them more in depth next week. And with that, I think we'll let you go. Friday morning, I'll be back with Jack at 8 a.m. Eastern, and we'll keep you up to date with everything that's going on in the NFL and Major League Baseball and anything else might be top of mind in sports. And I'll be back and I'll have the Major League Baseball update Friday afternoon, and also we'll have the Sunday Stream of Consciousness on Sunday. No, we may have a preemption Sunday, as I am traveling to Connecticut Saturday to go to a minor league baseball game with my stepson and his wife, and so Sunday morning could be problematic. I'll do the 8 o'clock roundtable, and the Sunday Stream of Consciousness might be on a minute-to-minute situation that afternoon at some point when I get home. We'll see how it goes. All right, guys, have a great night. Keith Engle for TGI Sports. Football Huddle.